Karkadosh Boker Or Mishna Yomi. There's Masechet Bava Kamma, Perek Chet, the 8th chapter, Mishna Aleph and Bet, Mishna 1 and 2. The Mishnah starts, again, this chapter is talking about now physical injuries. Okay, that's going to be from one human being to another human being. And now we're going to speak about different payments that a person has to pay. So, if somebody is going to hit their friend, Chayav alav mishum chamisha dvarim. He has to pay 5 different concepts or 5 different aspects of the injuries. Number 1 is nezek, the damage in itself, which means the loss of value of the damage. Number 2 is the tsa'ar, suffering. When a person gets injured, he's suffering, the pain and suffering. Number 3, ripui, expenses of healing, doctor's bills, hospital bills. 4 is shevet. Shevet is that he has to rest, meaning he's unemployment, he's not working, so loss of employment. And number 5, boshet, embarrassment, meaning when he was hit and now he has to go around with some broken nose or some cast or whatever it is, so therefore he's embarrassed. So in all these things, a person has to pay. Now obviously he only has to pay for that which he did. So for example, let's say it was only a damage without any embarrassment, or there was no unemployment because he wasn't working, or whatever the scenario was. So he only has to pay for that which he damaged, not for anything else. So now we're going to start. Nezek benezek keitzad. How do we evaluate the damage? So simet eno, whenever he blinded his eye, kitayet edo, he cut off his hand, shiberet reglo, broke the leg, roin oto kilu evedim kabeshuk. We're going to look at him as if he's an eved, a slave sold in the market. Veshamin kama yafa, kama yafa. And we're going to evaluate how much is he worth with it and how much is he worth without it. Right? Even nowadays they have such a concept where they're going to evaluate that a person, I remember once upon a time, right, I went and was working for a newspaper, delivering newspapers. So they had like a whole list that if a person comes and they're working for the company and they break their hand or they lose their hand, so loss of life is this amount of money, because that's the value of loss of life, whatever it is, a few 100,000. I remember this talking about many, many years ago, but whatever it is. And I said, if it's going to be a hand, this is a value, an eye, this, each thing is going to be different values. Tsa'ar. What about suffering now? So he says, Kivao b'shipud b'masmer. What happens if he burnt him with a hot spit? A shipud is one of those skewers, right? Or a hot nail. Even if it's going to be on the nail, where it's not going to make a wound, meaning that the nail will grow back, everything's going to go out, so it's not going to make such a big difference in the value, in the market value. Still, we're going to evaluate how much are you willing to pay not to suffer that. Meaning, I'm going to tell you, listen, I'm going to burn you. How much money? If a person says, you know what, listen. I'm going to, he doesn't want to tolerate the pain. So how much is he willing to pay not to suffer that? Ripui. He's obligated to pay doctor's bills and medicines. So that's a very, very simple one. Okay? Obviously, the Gemara is going to go into what happens if you could get it for free and he has to pay for it, so you still do it for paying, because if it's free, it's going to be more expensive afterwards. Okay, fine. Alubo tzemachim. What about now, blisters are on his skin? If it's because of the makkah, he's going to be chayav to pay for that as well. Shalom mechamat makkah, it's nothing to do with it, right? So therefore, he's not obligated to pay for them. What happens if it was the wound healed and returned again? It healed and returned again. He's still obligated to pay for it until he's healed completely. But if it completely healed and then it returned, he's not obligated to come and to heal it. Okay, next one. 4th one, shevet. What is exactly shevet? Loss of employment. So that means it doesn't matter even if he's going to be a lawyer or a big doctor or whatever it is. We look at him as if he's a cucumber watcher, meaning that he's only watching cucumbers. So he's fit to do like mamash. So therefore he has to pay the wages of the less, meaning like mamash, minimum wage basically. Okay, he doesn't have to pay the wages before. Because since he already gave him the value of the hand or the foot, which that's a damage, so therefore that's already included in that which he became injured. The last one is going to be bullshit, embarrassment. Everything depends on the one who embarrasses and the one that gets embarrassed. Meaning, right, obviously the person, if he's a very wealthy person, he gets embarrassed more, right, than if it's just a poor person or things like that. So therefore, obviously it's going to, and it depends who's the one that's embarrassing. So each one depends on the person embarrassing and the one that gets embarrassed. Now let's speak about it. If you embarrass a person that's unclothed, or you embarrass somebody that's blind, Ram vayeshet yashen, you embarrass somebody that's sleeping. Chayav, you're still obligated to pay, because there's still embarrassment, right? But obviously it's not the same. Yashen shebiyesh patur, but if he's sleeping and he embarrasses somebody else, he's going to be patur. He's not obligated to pay, because basically the embarrassment is only if he did it intentionally, not if he did it accidentally. Here the guy's sleeping; he didn't have an intention of embarrassing somebody. Now, fal min agag v'ziku b'yesh. What happens if somebody falls off the roof? Obviously, it's an accident, and he injures somebody and he embarrasses somebody. Then he fell upon him. Chayav al hanzek. He's going to be chayav on the damage. Upatur al boshet, but he's going to be patur on the embarrassment, because again, it was done unintentionally. As it says that the man fights another one, and the wife of one of them approaches, and he grabs, right, the imvushav, he grabs the groin area and the private parts to embarrass him, right, and that stop him hitting from the husband. So eno chayav ala boshet hatsheyeh mitkaven. So he says he's not going to be obligated to pay for the embarrassment until he intends to harm. So it has to be done bechavana. Okay, the second Mishnah. This Mishnah contrasts laws of a person who injures a person, right, to do with the concept of an animal that injures a person. Zeh chomer be'adami b'shor. This is a chumrah, the stringency of a human being damaging another human being, then a shor damaging. Because the human being will pay these 5 damages, right, which is again the damages, suffering, the healing, the unemployment, right, loss of employment, better said, and boshet and embarrassment. And he has to pay the vladot, the fetus, we already learned previously. But the shor will only pay nezek, upatur midmei vladot. He will be exempt from paying for the fetus. Have a wonderful day.